It wasn't a fight. It was a feeling. The rules around his phone changed. What used to be normal suddenly wasn't. I didn't know if I crossed a line, or if something shifted that I couldn't see yet. My phone stayed open. Always had. His didn't, and I started carrying a fear he never had to carry. Wondering. Second-guessing. Holding questions I didn't know how to ask. I never caught him doing anything. Not once. But I lived with the weight of doubt anyway, and years later it hit me. He never had to worry about me. That imbalance stayed. That's what hurt.
It wasn't secrecy, it was space. After a while, things don't need to be shared the same way. Not everything has to be checked, explained, or handed over. Some things are just personal. That doesn't mean something's wrong. Being close doesn't mean access to everything. Sometimes a man just wants his own pocket of quiet, not distance, not hiding. Just room to breathe without turning it into a conversation. From the outside it looks cold, from inside it feels normal. Different definitions of closeness, different needs for space. No bad intentions. Just two people reading the same silence differently.
Yes, I felt alone laying next to him. But it didn't start that way. For years, we didn't go to bed angry. Even when we were upset, there was still touch, an arm, a closeness, a reminder we were still together. At first, I explained the distance away. He was drinking. He passed out. I told myself that was all it was. Nothing to panic about. Nothing to name.
I'm here for you, always.
I know.
I just need a moment.
But later, when the drinking stopped, the distance stayed. We went to bed, then just went to bed. No arm around me. No reaching. Like we were sharing a room instead of a connection. I would roll over and touch him, put my arm on him, and it felt like nothing. Like I wasn't even there. That's when it changed. Not because love disappeared, but because closeness did.
I didn't stop loving her. I stopped knowing how to reach for her. Somewhere along the way, touch started to feel like pressure instead of instinct. I wasn't trying to pull away. I was trying not to fail at something I couldn't explain, so I stayed still instead. When I stopped drinking, I thought that was the fix. I didn't realize the distance had already learned how to stay. Quiet, habitual, unspoken. There were nights I felt her move closer. I knew what it meant. I just didn't know how to meet it without breaking something in myself. Long before everything changed, there were moments I should have leaned in closer, been more romantic, more present. I didn't pull away on purpose. I just didn't know how to give what I'd never learned to offer.
I stopped complaining, not because nothing was wrong, but because peace felt fragile. I didn't know if speaking up would break it, so I carried things quietly instead. He'd say, if something's wrong, tell me, but I didn't. For decades, I didn't want to risk the distance, so I swallowed irritation, hurt, exhaustion, and called it loyalty. When I finally spoke, years later, it felt like we landed on opposite ends of the universe.
I didn't think silence was harm. I thought it was keeping things steady. If nothing was exploding, I assumed we were fine. I didn't see what was being carried quietly. When I said, tell me if something's wrong, I meant it, but I didn't know how to sit with discomfort. So when things felt tense, I leaned into routine, not connection. By the time words finally came out, they felt heavy, unfamiliar. I don't know if distance started then, or if it had been growing for years. While we both thought we were protecting each other. I thought love meant holding things together. I didn't realize it also meant reaching. By the time I noticed what was missing, we weren't arguing, we were just standing far apart, both thinking we were doing the right thing.
I didn't turn cold, I turned careful. After years of carrying everything, moving toward people started to feel risky. Like hope came with consequences. I still give, I still help, I still care deeply, but I don't reach the same. because reaching used to cost me pieces I never got back. That's how someone becomes quiet without being cruel. Not angry, not bitter, just protective of what's left. After believing endurance would be rewarded, and learning it wasn't.
I thought love was staying, not leaving, not breaking things. If the house was running and nobody was yelling, I assumed we were okay. See, I didn't grow up knowing how to talk through tension, so when things felt off, I tightened up, handled what I could, left the rest untouched. I thought space meant respect. I didn't realize it felt like abandonment, until it was already normal. I thought keeping control meant keeping stability, money handled, decisions made, problems contained. I didn't see how safety turned into silence, or how silence trained her to disappear. I didn't notice what silence was costing her.
When the kids were little, distance hid behind noise. Schedules, practices, bills, chaos. There was always something to fix, something to manage, something to blame. We were tired, but we were busy. Busy can look like love. When the house got quiet, there was nowhere left to hide. It was just us, and the silence felt louder than the kids ever did. We weren't fighting. We were functioning. And functioning can look like connection. Then I had to leave. Family needed me in another state. He told me to go. Encouraged it. I thought distance would make us miss each other. I didn't know it would make us easier to live without. Would call just to hear my husband's voice. Sometimes I couldn't reach him. Sometimes he sounded far even when he answered. It didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like slipping. And I didn't know how to grab something that wasn't reaching back.
When the kids were home, there was always motion. Always something pulling at us. I thought once it was quiet, we'd finally relax. I didn't know quiet would expose what we never fixed. When she left to handle family, I told her to go. It felt right, responsible. I thought giving space was respect. I didn't realize it felt like absence. And I don't mean absence like that period she disappeared into that damn shed. The absence I'm speaking of is the one that's supposed to make the heart grow fonder. Yes, that one. She would call. Sometimes I missed it. Sometimes I kept it short. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't know how to close a distance. I didn't understand. Thought we were steady. I thought routine meant solid. I didn't see that comfort can turn into drift if nobody reaches for each other. And by the time I noticed the space, it already felt normal.
I thought if I did it the way it was supposed to be done, love would stay. Marriage, house, children, packed lunches, PTA meetings, church on Sunday, dinner on the stove before he walked in, bonding time, family time, routine. I built a life the way they said to. He was home. I was home. On paper, it was solid. But somewhere between raising babies and raising grandchildren, I started feeling like I was holding the entire weight of something no one else noticed was heavy. I didn't need fireworks. I needed to feel chosen, the way I chose him. When I finally spoke up, after decades of swallowing things, it didn't land. And that's when it hit me. I waited so long to be heard that by the time I opened my mouth, we were already standing. Too far apart. I thought endurance earned security. The payoff was I became a hermit.
Now that holds her. That's the woman who did everything right. That's the everyday wife. That's the everyday mother. That's the woman who followed the blueprint and still ended up lonely. I thought stability was love, a house that ran. Kids raised right. Grandkids laughing in the yard. No chaos, no drama. She didn't complain, so I assumed she was okay. In my mind, quiet meant peace.
I'm not wired to scan emotions all day. If something's wrong, I expect it to be said. When nothing was said, I took that at face value. Routine isn't neglect to a man like me. It's proof everything's working. I didn't see drifting. I saw consistency. Somewhere along the way, comfort turned into distance. Not because I stopped loving her, because I got used to her strength. Got used to her handling things. Got used to us functioning. And when everything functions long enough, you stop checking the foundation. Maybe I did get comfortable. Maybe routine felt safe. I never thought silence meant she was breaking. I thought it meant we were solid. By the time I felt the shift, it wasn't loud. It was just space, and I didn't know how to close it. Without tearing something open.
That's him. Not a villain, not a monster. Just a man who equated stability with love and mistook endurance for contentment.